Chapter 1. The Neighbor from the Last Desk.
Morning in Windland, a quiet suburb of spacious private homes, was as chilly and damp as any September morning ought to be. A gray sky hung low over the rooftops, and it felt as though the whole world were holding its breath in anticipation of something new. Catherine stood by her bedroom window, watching a moving van unload boxes at the neighboring house. A new family. A man in a dark jacket, a woman in a long skirt with a delicate beret perched elegantly on her head, and, just for a moment, the silhouette of a tall boy with a backpack, his black hair catching the morning light. "I wonder where they're from," she murmured, scratching behind the ear of her golden retriever Teddy, who lay curled at her feet. The house was quiet. Her father had yet to return from his night shift. School was calling, loud and insistent like a bell. But she had no desire to go. Only the thought of seeing her friends, Margot and Victoria, offered a flicker of warmth. Catherine was a girl of striking figure, with dark ash-brown hair, usually thrown into a careless ponytail, and cold gray eyes that often held things she left unsaid. She pulled on her favorite sage green sweater, quickly tied her hair back, and glanced at the clock. Late again, as usual. She grabbed her backpack, kissed Teddy on the forehead, and dashed out the door. She cast one last glance toward the neighbor's house. The curtains were drawn, not a sound. It was as if the family had vanished the moment they'd arrived. School greeted her with its usual chaos. The hallways teemed with bodies like a rush-hour street. Her friends were already waiting by the lockers. Margot, a short-haired redhead with a cheeky smile, wore denim overalls and a vintage backpack slung over one shoulder. Victoria, a brunette with coffee-colored eyes, sported a black jacket and flawlessly winged eyeliner. "At last! Ready to absorb some knowledge?" Victoria exclaimed with mock enthusiasm. "Been dreaming of this all summer," Catherine replied, masking her unease with sarcasm. But when they stepped into the classroom, Catherine froze on the threshold. He was there, in the last row by the window, still, almost ghostly, hood up, head bowed, but even so, his face seemed carved from a fashion magazine. Sharp features, high forehead, dark lashes, coal-black hair, slightly wavy, pushed back with careless grace. He looked unreal. He avoided eye contact deftly, yet something in his glance caught hers. Something oddly familiar.
"This is Archie Weston,"
the teacher announced.
"He's joining our class today. I trust you'll help him feel welcome."
Archie gave a nod without lifting his eyes, but for a heartbeat his gaze flicked toward Catherine, and a shiver passed over her skin. "He's definitely a witcher," Margot whispered. "Or a demon," Victoria added. "A stylish demon." At break, Archie kept to himself. He didn't seek conversation, didn't open up. Victoria had tried making small talk by the water cooler. He merely nodded and walked away. In the cafeteria, Catherine spotted him talking to a tall, blonde girl. They were laughing, chatting as if they'd known each other for years. Catherine frowned. Something about their ease felt artificial, like two actors performing in someone else's play. "Who is she?" Catherine asked, unable to hold back. "Haven't seen her before. Maybe she's new too," Victoria offered. "But it's his first day. When would they have had time to meet?" Catherine pressed, but Margot was already discussing Zara discounts, and Victoria was daydreaming about new sneakers. After school, Catherine walked home alone. Margot had tutoring, Victoria dance practice. A thin drizzle misted the streets, leaves clung to her soles. The neighbor's house stood silent, seemingly empty. Only a faint shift in the upstairs curtain hinted at life inside, just as Catherine passed by. At home, she changed clothes, fed Teddy, and sat down with her homework. But her mind was blank. Again and again, it wandered back to Archie, to his eyes, his silence, the way he had emerged from nowhere and instantly claimed a space in her thoughts. Her father returned around 7, weary, his face lined and pale, a thermos still in hand. The kitchen smelled of mac and cheese. He was still in his security guard uniform and sank into his chair, rubbing a hand over his face.
How was school?
He asked between spoonfuls. Nothing special, Catherine replied flatly, avoiding his eyes. She rarely spoke about herself, especially not when her thoughts kept circling back to the boy at the last desk. Later in her room, she sat at her computer. On Discord, her friends were laughing, playing Dead by Daylight. Then Teddy barked, low and uncertain. He was standing by the window, alert, staring outside. Catherine got up and came closer. A light had come on in the window across the street. The room on the second floor. That room. A figure paced back and forth, tall, familiar. Archie. He seemed to be speaking to someone, though no one else was visible. His expression was tense or troubled. She squinted. For an instant, it seemed like he was looking directly at her. Across the street, through the glass. She recoiled from the window, heart racing. Don't be ridiculous. He couldn't have. But something in her tightened. There had been more in that gaze than mere recognition. She didn't return to the window that evening. Yet his image lingered in her mind, like they had met before. Like this was only the beginning of something far, far bigger.